Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I was ready to do something that's becoming a bit of a feature on Fridays and take a look at the Brexit angle of the pro-Brexit media. But if I'm going to discuss something in the media today, couldn't really pass this one up. See, an interviewer told Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, to shut up. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. Okay, so this one is going to be a bit shorter than usual, but on the other hand, I couldn't pass this one up. And on the other hand, there's no need to labour the point too much, but I do want to explain some of the things around it. But yeah, Boris Johnson been doing a bit of a flurry of interviews this last week to coincide with the Conservative Party conference. And he was doing what any politician might do when they aren't embracing the concept, trying to talk so much that the interviewer couldn't actually ask any questions. You know, you've heard of the filibuster, which is an attempt to talk for hours on end in order to run out of time for a controversial bill that wants to pass through a legislative assembly to stop that. Well, politicians do it in interviews as well. And this isn't especially Boris Johnson. Politicians have done this for as long as radio and television has existed. You know, you don't want to answer questions as the government. There was a classic line from Yes Minister. It's like the first episode, I think, where it was, opposition is all about asking difficult questions and government is all about not answering them. And it used to be the case that what you would do, you'd give vague non-answers. The blander, the better. In fact, if you can really give a very insipid answer to a tricky question, you may even find that the journalist doesn't even bother to write it up for fear of sending their readers to sleep. But in the age of the broadcast interview, people are going to listen to you anyway. And yeah, if it's really boring, they may edit it out. That could be a bonus. But another string was needed to their bow. The interview has a limited time slot. So just waffle on about any old rubbish until the time runs out. And if there's one thing Boris Johnson, as a talentless journalist himself, has developed some good skills in, it is waxing lyrical about anything and everything. Just going off on a tangent. Really crucial skill. So on the Today programme on BBC Radio 4 earlier this week, it seems that Nick Robinson, who was hosting it, is the unfortunate interviewer here, just got fed up. Boris Johnson was busy banging on about things that might help ease the problems that we're talking about, these crises. Oh yeah, this might help, this might help. And about how we're just going through a period of readjustment, when Robinson pointed out that Johnson wasn't saying anything new. Yeah, you've said all this. Yeah, no. Then Johnson carried on with the only response he'd bothered to rehearse about it all being the fault of businesses, when Robinson said, "Prime Minister, stop talking." Can you imagine? There's this poor guy trying to ask questions to which the public have a right to know the answer, and the Prime Minister blathers on about any old rubbish, like, politicians do, to fill in the time that is costing quite a lot of money as well, actually, when you consider the salaries of all the people involved here. That's quite a lot of money. Robinson struggles on, he tries to ask, he struggles on, but then he's just had enough. Shut up! Will you stop that uncontrolled release of air from your pie hole? I have questions. It's brilliant. I'm not sure the Prime Minister saw that one coming. I'm not sure anybody did. It caused quite a stir, even amongst fellow journalists going, "Oh, I wish I could have said that." Almost like the moment where the proverbial child points out that the emperor has no clothes on. Robinson then said, "We are going to have questions and answers, not where you merely talk if you wouldn't mind." Needless to say, Johnson did not take this in good grace. Robinson asked him about another of the myriad crises that his incompetence has blighted us all with, in this case, the rising cost of living. Johnson's response was basically, "Oh, I'm allowed to talk now, am I?" I paraphrase, but that was the gist of it. Can't say I minded this, though. It does actually highlight, the petulance of the Prime Minister here. It shows just how little cool our head of government has. See, someone in control of the situation, a politician who was prepared, in control, calm about the situation, would take it in their stride. Because here's the thing. As I've said, this isn't Boris Johnson. Politicians in general do not want to answer tricky questions. So when they are faced with tricky questions, of course they're not going to think, oh, the game's up, I've been asked this question, I better answer it. No, of course they're going to seek to evade it all the time. And you should expect it. If you've gone to an interview deliberately intending to waffle on, you should expect a journalist to point it out. Shouldn't be a problem. You just smile obsequiously and then you carry on waffling through another non-answer to the question. In fact, it'd be brilliant. You know, you just wait calmly for the next question, not a problem, you just give the same answer. The interviewer might well get exasperated and try and point out that the question's not really being answered. To which a competent politician just responds, well, you know, I'm trying my best to answer in simple terms for your listeners what is actually a terribly complex question. Because that's the one politicians always use. Oh, it's actually terribly complex, this situation. Not as simple as you're making out. It's rather trickier than you are trying to imagine. You know, but perhaps the interviewer would like to be clearer with their question. You know, maybe you'd like to ask it a different way if the answers aren't really suiting. All very polite, still saying nothing of value, and the interview will still run out of time and off they'd go to wherever they were going to go next without having to expose to the unwary that they hadn't actually said a blind thing. But Johnson is not calm. He's not in control of the situation. He is a deeply insecure man who cannot stand people criticising him. You know, he has lost his rag no end of times in Prime Minister's questions when Starmer's pressed the right buttons. But, you know, he probably thought he'd cracked it with journalists. Just don't be interviewed by the awkward ones. I saw in a report that this was the first time in 2 years that Johnson had actually been interviewed on this particular radio show. Might be the last time he does it as well. At the end of the interview, I suspect Robinson knew that this would be the last one for a while, maybe forever, and concluded by thanking the Prime Minister for, and I quote, talking to the Today programme and allowing the occasional question as well. But this is why Boris Johnson, you know, carefully controls who is allowed to actually interview him. It's why he moved press conferences from Westminster, where he has no control over the assembled press, to Downing Street, where he can turn people away. Instead of actually learning how to deal with these things. Because, you know, we talk about good interviewers and bad interviewers and good journalists and bad journalists. A politician who knows how to evade questions, doesn't matter how good the journalist is, there's nothing they can do. You know, there are journalists out there who want to do their jobs. They want to ask the right questions. It's just that they are increasingly sidelined in Brexit Britain. But there we go. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.